Hello, chat. Hello, chat. We're getting started. Oh, they can hear me. Now
Hi,
they can
chat.
hear you.
Yeah, you sound weird. You sound like... I don't know. Maybe it's me? Maybe
That
it's
doesn't
me.
help. You gotta tell me. You gotta give me some specifics so I know if
You
I need
sound
to
like
fix
blowed
something.
out.
Okay.
Like loud.
Am I?
Sounds fine on my end.
It might be me. Maybe me. Maybe me.
How do I sound? Do I have the
You
crap
sound. You
face
sound
again?
fine.
So far, no,
I
you
had
sound
him
good.
200%.
Okay.
That's right.
I haven't video
That's why.
broadcast back on.
Oh,
my,
okay, that'll do it.
Way down, way down.
That's what that was happening. I had him 200%. That's
Yeah.
way too much, Chef Grubb.
That's too. Yeah.
100% is a lot of
It is
Chef
too
Grubb.
much, yeah,
200%.
absolutely.
Dear Lord.
All right. Let's do this. Let's bring us up here. It's Turbo Sean again, everybody. Brace yourselves.
Yo!
Yeah, let's go.
I was like, I gotta find somebody, and then I was like, you know what? Turbo Sean did a fine job. Let's just do that again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And that saved me time. Why didn't he grow a beard in the 2 days since the last show?
Guess what, Benji? I shaved again.
Oh, you bastard.
Wow.
How dare
He
you.
had a full beer. You want to see him?
Alright.
I saw it before he shaved.
What the monkey ball?
It's like Santa Claus right here. Santa Claus. Oh, we gotta watch Santa Claus.
Yeah, I'll do that. Here, let me fix these.
Tim Allen.
Good movie.
Let me fix
a
these
great movie.
cameras real quick.
First one's pretty good.
I'm fixing the cameras, everybody. Hang on.
Mike, is that you?
Get him out of here!
No, I mean in the
Oh no!
yeah. It says Mike. It says
Oh,
Mike
that's
on the
alright.
overlay.
Oh, it does? Okay, well, I can fix that. That's like a lot of work. I'm not gonna.
Why don't you just put like text on top of it? A black box on
Yeah,
top
that's
of
a
it.
good
Fuck
idea.
it.
Oh god. That's
One
not
of versus if you gave me like all the layers and stuff, and I could totally just fix this. But let's see. What if I delete this and then hit this instead, and then move it down below that? There we go, and then
I wish if I had control over this layout, I will do it, but I don't
yeah,
want to have control.
you know what? I think all these things actually are in, but I don't have all the layers uploaded into it, so it's too much. Okay,
You're gonna be Mike for a day,
Yep.
Sean. So
Oh no!
yeah,
All right, let's
you're
get
a
started.
disgusting Disney adult now.
I
Yeah.
always knew I'd be going to hell.
Mm-hmm. Let's move.
Go up,
me.
Miles.
Let's do this thing. Okay, I Well, hello, Miles. How you
Oh,
doing?
Miles. Everybody knows Miles in Argentina. He's the most listened podcast.
Hell yeah. Was that I didn't see, was that what was the Spotify rap? Did it say it was most listened to in Argentina?
I don't know. I saw a tweet. He was like, I'm very popular in Argentina. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
number
believe
one.
you.
Number one lead.
I don't have friends here. They all hate me.
That's always a good sign.
This is my alliance with the Empire that
Mm-hmm. That's right. they think you're on Discord with CIA agents.
yeah.
All right.
Turning in all my cameras.
Okay, there's this, there's that. Let me just do this thing right here. Oh, you already did it. All right, cool. Wow, you're much more helpful than Mike. All right.
I've been told that before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely
I heard
true.
that. Yeah.
Let me
For a lot of people too.
move that over there. There we go. All right. You ready? You ready, Sean? You ready
Tweet,
to do this
god
thing?
damn it.
Okay.
Tweet.
Well, listen. Let me tweet.
Tweet,
real
you-
quick.
Listen to you and everything. Just quote.
Do you have the music?
some narc-
I didn't hear the music.
Yeah, where's the music? Come on, chop
Where's
chop.
the music?
Oh yeah, music. Yeah, shit. Hang on.
Man, you're hanging on by a thread there.
I am like I'm so ready for tomorrow just to be over so I can fall asleep for 2 days. Although it's not like I actually do get to rest on the weekends.
Also, I hate to break it to you, Jeff, but we have a show tomorrow too.
Well, yeah, but that one's one that's easy for me. I always just win those, as far as I can remember.
Wow, what is the score right now? 7-1.
He won
with the
7 times.
This will be number 10. 6-2-1.
Okay,
That adds up to
that sounds
9.
better.
Yeah.
That sounds more like it.
I almost won once.
That's why I said Benji.
Of everybody who lost, I'm the least loser.
I
That's
don't
true.
know if that's how that works.
I
Mhm.
think. At least in points.
Wear my sunglasses at night. That's right. These aren't sunglasses. These are gamer glasses. It's just to protect me from
Oh
the
shit!
the
This
bright,
is spiky shit.
the bright lights of gaming. Yeah, it's Just got the magnet. Okay, and then music. That's what we were doing.
Music.
Go here, decides, and then I press the button. Let's see if it's saved.
Yay!
You guys hear
We
it?
hear
I
it.
hear that.
Let's see if the chat was getting it twice.
Sorry, excuse me. I just ate.
No, I think they're only getting it once. All right, cool. Yes, very old. All right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go if you are.
I think I'm ready.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christian.
Let's count it down. I will start recording and then we'll get going. Here we go.
Oh, wait. Super chats. How
Yeah.
are we doing those?
Let's have I given you hang on, let me try something real quick. Do something. I will have them right here so I can read them, but let me try something real quick. And if this doesn't work in a jiffy, then I'll just read them.
Okay.
Dashboard. Yep. Okay. I'm just gonna read them because it's just a slightly too much work. I was just gonna invite you to stream elements and have you be part of the page, but I'll do that later. You're being boring. I can listen. I'm wearing the gamer glasses no matter what, but we might just keep the sunglasses on because I don't give a fuck anymore. All right. Honestly, I feel like my eyes need the rest from this light being in my face all day. Let's do this. I think I'm ready. I'm looking at. There's that story I wanted to talk about. Okay, I'm gonna count us in. You ready, Sean?
I'm ready.
All right. 5, 4, 3. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the Game Mess Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything about the world of games so you never have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. With me is...
Sean McDowell.
All right, Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How are you doing tonight?
I'm you know what? I'm going to survive. I know that much. I know I'm going to get till tomorrow. It's just a matter of how much it's going to hurt tonight.
What shape you're going to end up in on the other side, eh?
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a long week. I don't remember the start of it anymore. Doing a lot right now, but I don't know. It's still fun to come here and do the podcast, so it's why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah, I'll bear it and grin it. Grin and bear it. I'll bear and grin it. I don't give a fuck anymore, Turbo Sean. Mike is still out. Mike is still on some sort of spiritual trip. I don't know what they call them when you're a Disney adult and you go to Disney. I don't want to
spiritual adventure.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it to going to Mecca because that's insulting.
It's more like when a nudist finally goes to a nudist colony.
That's a lot what it's like.
Yeah, with all their people. Yeah.
Yes, he's with his people. Exactly. So we'll probably get him back at some point in the future. I guess, assuming he could survive. But in the meantime, we're going to do a Game Mess Decides tonight with me and Turbo Sean. Today's episode, we got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet might be getting fixed, and we're deciding the Mount Rushmore of console launch games. But yeah, mostly I just kind of want to see, how have things been going for you since the last time we talked on Tuesday?
Not much new. It's been 2 days. I'm realizing now how close together these podcasts are.
Yep.
I've been working diligently on some supporter content for all the wonderful patrons and YouTube members. So I look forward to some of that tomorrow night. And then I've been playing a little bit of Pokemon. So, more of the same, mostly.
Yeah, I've been trying to catch up on. The problem is I've had choice paralysis. Everyone has it. But last night I'm like, okay, I got the kids to bed at a decent time. I didn't have a podcast in the evening. I should do something. And then I just kind of sat there for an hour trying to decide what would be the best use of my time. And it was the worst. It's the worst. So I just forced myself to go stream. And it wasn't the best use of my time, but at least it was something. It was better than just sitting there fretting about it. So
yeah, I got that notification as I was going to bed. I was like, what the hell is this just streaming? I saw the notification pop and I was like, okay, well, clearly it's going to be like Pokemon or Bayonetta or something. It was like some ask something. What was it you were streaming?
Asked Libra. We will I should just put that in the game section. I never did that. Let me right here. Ask Libra.
Sounds like a good idea.
Ask Libra.
That's my sign, Jeff.
Yes. And then I played something else and I don't remember, but it was Need for Speed Unbound. Yes, that's right. Ooh. I'll talk about that a little bit. Underwhelming, but we'll get to it. Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to thank everybody for joining us. You get more from Mike and me usually at the Discord by going to GameS.net. But Sean, you're also frequently there. In fact, you're one of our mods.
I am I think it's official at this point. GameS contributor, because I realized,
I think so.
Jeff, as of next Tuesday night. In the span of 1 week, I will have been on every show on this channel.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. So a full Game Mess contributor, and I appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to Jeopardy tomorrow night. So Sean runs that. If you have never tuned into a Jeopardy, tomorrow's the time to do it. We'll talk about that here in a second, how you can do so. If you want to ask a question, you could drop a super chat here during the show on YouTube. Thank you to Carlos Ayin, who is Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme songs. We are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and wherever pods are caught. Give us a good rating wherever you are listening. Hit that like button if you're here on YouTube. It really helps people find the show. Thank you to our mods like Sean and Christian and everyone else, even Nick Turbo, especially Nick Turbo.
I guess
especially Nick Turbo. You can support us by going to patreon.com/GameMess. And if you do that, it's the most effective way because they have the best revenue split, and that gets you access to everything. You're going to get the Jeopardy game live tomorrow. You can watch that live along as we play it, and that's always a really good time. We usually get about 30, 40, 50 people in there watching sometimes. It's pretty cool stuff, so definitely tune in. And then you also get all this, the secret channels, the bonus channels inside the Discord. You become a podcast producer where you can contribute to this show. We got a lot of people giving their feedback on the topic this week, where we're going to be discussing, the Mount Rushmore of launch video games for consoles. So if you hear that, I wish I could, participate. Well, you can always send a super chat, but you can also just join the Discord, join the Patreon, and be a part of that. You can also hit the join button here on YouTube. And if you are doing that these days, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I know like money's tight and things are uncertain. People have been supporting the Patreon regardless, and that means a whole lot to me. All right, Sean, with all that said, let's get into these topics I brought for the week.
Let's do it.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
there is a new patch for Pokemon, and is it customary for Nintendo to apologize for its Pokemon games that are made by Game Freak?
Fuck no. Not at all. This is very weird.
So yeah, this patch was announced yesterday. I think it was announced yesterday. And they said, okay, yeah, it's 1.1.0. It's coming, and it's going to have bug fixes, a few other things. But in the patch notes, it said, we are aware that players may encounter issues that affect the game's performance. Our goal is always to give players a positive experience with our games, and we apologize for the inconvenience. We take the feedback from players seriously and are working on improvements to the games. Okay. So they're going to fix everything, right?
Not likely.
Yeah, it feels okay. So this feels like them saying it, but also saying it in such a way that's like, we will make improvements. I think that is factually true. Of course, they're going to make improvements. These things actually always do get patches. Maybe this one will get more significant patches than they've gotten in the past. And Imran, I put this out on Twitter today as the poll question as part of Game S Mornings. Do you think it will be a significant improvement with these upgrades?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, he's like, I think most of the staff has already moved on to the next Pokemon they're not going to have enough time for. And that's the conversation we had on the show today on Game S Mornings. They have to go make the next one. So that was the problem with this one.
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion per se. Okay. Just based on the cadence, I don't want to question anyone, but based on what I know and based on the cadence of these releases, which we talked about a little bit on Nintendogs, but just to put into context for this situation right now, what's likely going to happen is they're going to have a skeleton crew, as you may refer to it, working on patching, fixing bugs. I know MVG, he added to that conversation as well, and he was like, yeah, they're going to fix what we assume is the memory leak issue and then any major bugs, but no big performance gains will be had. They're not going to be looking at fixing that in particular. And that's definitely what I think is going on here, where that whatever team they assign to that is going to be working on, because that's what the people care about, is like the bugginess getting fixed. Like the performance, it's whatever. If they fix what we think is the memory leak issue, and it turns out that could get you a little bit extra performance,
which is
that's
possible.
The performance gain you're getting. Yeah, but otherwise, that's what they're going to fix. And then the rest of the team, they're going to be doing what I assume at this point would be the DLC for this game. So that was a successful business strategy that they did with Sword and Shield. Rather than doing the third version, as I mentioned on Nintendogs, they're probably going to end up doing DLC of a significant size for this game. Yeah, because you have an open world canvas. Why wouldn't you? So it's
they just are going to 100%. That was always the plan. This is not even why wouldn't you situation, right? This is. They always did the third game. Now they always are going to do DLC. It's the Monster Hunter was the same way. They would always do was it G or Try or whatever? I can't remember how that. Yeah. So they would do that, and then now recently they've done DLC instead. And so Pokemon, Monster Hunter both found that this was working really well for them. They're going to do that, and that means maybe I think that there could be some more improvements packaged with that, because that would be a major overhaul for the game of some sort. I think I wouldn't
be surprised if they add a section to this game, kind of like they did with Sword and Shield, where they had different entire sections of the map added on later on as the DLC, because it was Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. Those took place in other areas. Yeah. Maybe they'll optimize for those new areas that they add. I don't know if they're gonna do that, because it's a connected world. We'll have to see how that all shakes out, but maybe they'll optimize further then.
Yeah, maybe. I'm at a point where I think most people are over it at this point. Fix the memory leak, fix the big bugginess issues. But
Makes people falling through
Yes.
the ground and their eyes bugging out. Like the 27-ish FPS is like, take it or leave it
yeah,
at this
exactly.
point.
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed Unity stuff is the stuff that's going to keep sticking out to
Yes,
people.
exactly.
So they're gonna, and they'll probably get around to some of that. And I know people will debate like, how many patches does Game Freak normally do? I think this statement suggests that they will at least do something more than what they've done in the past.
Yeah, and they have shadow patched like all the games since the 3DS era
Yes.
allowed for that. So it's always smaller stuff. Obviously, bigger problems in this game gonna mean bigger patches naturally. That's just how that's gonna work out.
Thank you to shout out the over 100 people watching. If you are watching, please hit that thumbs up button. It does help people find the show while we're live. Really appreciate that. So yeah, I think what we'll just have to kind of wait and see next is like, what is the cadence of these updates? What is the cadence of these patches? But
Right.
and I guess we just roll back around to the way we started this. Is it normal for Nintendo to apologize for Game Freak? People are like always a little bit confused about the
For
relationship.
their games in general, really.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly. In the past they've had some games that have been spotty, and I don't think anything's been quite this rough. Maybe I'm misremembering, but has anything been as rough as Scarlet and Violet from Nintendo
For
overall?
Pokemon?
Well, no,
from Nintendo overall.
Yeah.
Not in this regard, no. I wouldn't say so. Like you have stuff like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that game never looked great.
Right.
But that was like an issue with like the upscaling they were using. We've never had where like it's just like a broken mess at launch.
So when it comes to Nintendo and Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, I mean, Nintendo is the 1/3 owner of the Pokemon Company, and they are the publishers of these games. Like Nintendo publishes the Pokemon games, so
Co-publisher.
yeah, right, yeah, but that's still name on the box. That's just kind of how it works. So
they do the distribution is like the big part of what they do on the publishing side.
Right, yeah, but they would they would think of that as them putting out a game, and they know that everyone associates Pokemon with Nintendo, and they know how important Pikachu as a brand character for Nintendo is. So that stuff was always going to be Nintendo saying, yeah, no, we apologize. All right, so sticking with Game Freak just real quick, they maybe have a new Pocket Card Jockey game coming. Game Freak doesn't just make Pokemon games. In the past, they've made a bunch of other stuff. It seems as ways to get their team up to speed with, or getting new people up to speed with working with that team, because you can't do that. You kind of can't do that with Pokemon games. You have to do that with other projects. A lot of times those projects have come out and have been really big hits, or at least critical darlings, and things that a lot of fans like. Pocket Card Jockey is one that definitely sticks out for me in terms of that, where I know a lot of people love this. Now they have Pocket Card Jockey, like Ride On, I think is the subtitle in Japanese. And that sounds like a new game. I would love to see this, because I always wanted to get in a Pocket Card Pocket Card Jockey. People were yelling at me for saying junkie in the Game S mornings today, and I couldn't stop myself from saying it. Now I'm doing it again.
I mean, it might turn into one if you play it enough.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gladly. I always wanted to try it on the 3DS, and then I kind of missed my window, and now I'm like on the Switch. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe just put one of those out on the Switch. That would be great. What's your history with Pocket Card Jockey, and do you have a history with Game Freak's other games?
I tried out the demo of Pocket Card Jockey. I guess I just didn't get it. Maybe it didn't click with me. It seemed a little too simple for my taste. It seemed like a mobile game, and they did put out some mobile version of that, so that that kind of makes sense. As far as Game Freak's other games, I haven't played any of the more recent ones like Harmonite or Tembo or anything like that. I tell you what though, Drill Dozer, that game,
it's a stone cold classic right there.
So good.
Yes,
that's one of my favorites on a GBA. But so they got the chops. They can do other stuff. It's just within their means.
Yeah, and if they're doing sequels to some of these other older franchises that they've done before, I'm doing another Drill Dozer. Hell yeah, let's make that happen. I wonder what the sort of creative imperative is for these sorts of things. So what is the reasoning behind it? Is it just is it solely to get other members of the team up to speed, or is it like, hey, maybe build a new IP?
So what the Gear project is it's Game Freak. And I got a lot of this from, I mentioned this on the last podcast, a Did You Know Gaming video on the topic. Apparently what the Gear project is it's basically a creative outlet for people at Game Freak, where it's Like they don't want all their eggs in one basket is why they started this, because the 3DS and Wii U era was shaky in general. They're like, what if this doesn't quite work out? Which anytime that comes up, I think it's silly because Pokemon is Pokemon. But the idea is that someone can pitch a game, and then if they get enough approval from their other co-workers, like they get enough people like saying, oh yeah, I support this, I'll work on this project with you, they work on that project, they work on the pitch, they develop like some kind of prototype or something to show for, and then the project can proceed from there, and snowballs, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it turns into a full release like a Pocket Card Jockey or a Harmonite or whatnot.
Oh, okay. Very, very cool. I think I don't know. That gives me hope that maybe there would be the kind of thing where, if Pocket Card Jockey is coming back and that's the sort of impetus there, maybe we could get another Joel Dozer. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting my hope up for no good reason. All right, let's move along. Reuters reported that Microsoft is likely to offer Sony a 10-year licensing deal for Call of Duty to avoid concerns of EU regulators. And this would be sort of classified as an official concession made to regulators. So that it would be baked into any sort of approval process, and therefore would be, binding on some higher level than just a handshake agreement or eventual contract with Sony, which Sony has mostly seemingly rebuked so far, even as the number has approached 10 years for Call of Duty. I mean, at a certain point, we just kind of have to wait and see, because it's hard to predict what each of these major regulators are going to do at the EU, the UK, and the United States. Microsoft does seem the most concerned about the EU, which makes sense. That's been the regulation sort of hub of the globe currently, where like they are the ones taking this up the most seriously. But it's like, okay, is that going to be enough? Maybe it's enough for regulators. Probably not going to make Sony too happy. They seem to want to try to fully derail this. But, at a certain point, like, what are regulators supposed to say? Like, this addresses all your concerns, at least for a decade. What do you really want forever? Like, is that the only thing you'd be happy with?
2 decades, Jeff.
Yes. Why have one when you have 2 for twice the price? Yeah, exactly.
They want that perpetuity, which is that's not going to happen
right.
As long as this goes through.
And it's again, they want it in perpetuity. What they really want, though, obviously, is for this whole deal to fall apart. That's what they really want. And I think they're trying to position themselves continuously to be like, okay, none of this is good enough. The things they're saying aren't. We can't take their word for it. And I think Microsoft's trying to sort of checkmate them on that a little bit and put them in a position where it's like, no, we are bound to these things, and now we have to do it. And this also addresses all the things you've set up to this point. So now what is the problem? And I think Sony has tried to find other problems, but it's just, I don't know, it doesn't really stack up in their favor very well. That said, that doesn't mean that any of this is going to suddenly be, okay, well, then this is approved, thumbs up. There's still a lot of hurdles. Microsoft could still stumble over this, and the deals could still fall apart. But this is a story we've really touched on every week now for the last couple of months.
Yep.
And with a seemingly increased sort of cadence over the last few weeks, especially as what it seems like this stuff is reaching a sort of fever pitch. I hope that means that it will soon break and we will come on the other side and it'll just be done. But we'll see. And that this was what, the concessions phase of this feels like that's where we should be then. If Microsoft is ready to make concessions, maybe they see the light at the end of the tunnel and they're like, okay, if we do this, we probably have to go back and forth a little bit more. We have to give up a little bit more than this, but this is a good starting point. And if we do this, it's like 3 moves from now, we will be out of it and everything will be in our hands. And we will be much better off because we'll have King and we will own Call of Duty and we will own most of this other stuff. But who knows? We have to wait and see. Right. Let's hit this one. Nintendo Switch was the best-selling game console during UK's Black Friday, which... how does that work? Because they don't have American Thanksgiving, but they have Black Friday. That was supposed to be the day after Thanksgiving. But I guess they just the sales just happen there too, right?
It's just because, with the internet, it's hard to ignore.
Right.
Just, oh, hey, everybody's doing a sale on this day. And, all of our companies with international branches are doing it. Well, I guess we're doing it too.
Yeah, I guess so.
I follow a British streamer and that's how she put it. It's just like, yep. Like we get it because it's an international world we're living in right now.
Yep, and makes a lot of sense. The Switch, which it's in its sixth year, and it is still doing strong, but there's been a lot of reasons to expect it to come back down to earth this year. Trends have been moving in that direction, but the system did very well. It made up 42% of all consoles sold during the week of Black Friday in the UK. This report, which comes from the GfK, which tracks sales in the UK. Mostly chalk that up to, once again, the Black Friday Switch bundle of a Switch Neon Machine and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online. Every year they've done this, and every year it's worked, and it worked again this year. 40%, though, of consoles sold during this week were Xbox systems, and that was due to the less than £200 price tag for the Xbox Series S. Obviously, they moved a lot of those, but a lot of people are like, well, this is the time to get in. That price is really impossible to ignore, and it's super available, and I don't have to stress about trying to get it. So that makes a lot of sense. And then 18% were PlayStation 5s, Xbox and PlayStation both. This was their biggest sales week of the year, and they're way up year over year compared to last Black Friday. So everyone's seeing gains. It's just Microsoft has that Xbox Series S, which is really easy to position as the value option, and it worked for them, right?
Right.
I think. What do you think? Do you think this is the last hurrah for the? I asked this of Jan today on Game Us Mornings. What do you think? The last big Black Friday hurrah for the Switch, or one more next year after Zelda? Maybe they have another thing for the holidays next year.
I mean, it all depends on that next hardware, I think, is how they position this.
Yeah.
I could see them doing a bigger deal, a more of a blowout if they're trying to move units either with something else, whatever that may be, coming out maybe late next year, or like getting ready for it into 2024. I could see them trying to push it in a different way, but at the same time, you look at these numbers, it continues to sell, this same bundle that they've been doing all these years. So I don't know, maybe they'll just stick with it. It's I think it's a little hard to say. Like we keep bouncing around like what is the next hardware, because that's anytime we try to speculate on what Nintendo's going to do next, it comes down to, well, where is Switch Pro, Switch 2, whatever, and then that's going to affect how the company decides to slot in, pushing units like this in any way.
Yes, and as I've said for a while now, I think Nintendo's was still figuring that stuff out for some time, and probably has it well sorted by now. But it's the kind of thing where that makes it hard for us to nail down. Because what would their sentiment be about going into a new generation of Switch after this? This system, Switch, was down slightly from like year over year. I said the Xbox and the PlayStation were up. Switch was down about 15%, if I can remember. I didn't write it down here, but I can go from memory. I think that's about right.
That doesn't make sense, though. I mean, you can only sell so many Switches at the end of the day, right?
Right. And that's where it's like, okay, there's these opposing tensions where on the one side, the Switch is coming back down. It is on the end of the bell curve where, it went up in the middle of the generation, just kept going up. And now, obviously, at a certain point, it's going to come back down on the other side. It was starting to do that pretty severely. Or at least it looked like it was going to start doing that pretty severely. And then Pokemon comes along, right? And it's at a certain point, that's going to boost it right back up. And it seemed like it did that.
That's what the Game Boy did.
Yep, exactly. And it's working once again. Big surprise. All right, those are the big news topics I wanted to talk about this week. If anyone else wants to bring up anything, we are open to talk about whatever you want in the super chats. But why don't we take a quick break, and then we'll get back with the Mount Rushmore of console launch games. We're going to touch or look into our Fantasy Critic League. I just kind of want to look over that real quick and see where we're ending up as we come to the end of the year. And we're going to do an update on the Game Mess Decides Hall of Fame. We'll be right back. Okay. The Pokémon Patch is live. Minnesota Goldie, having a third Switch wouldn't help me, right? Because I have all my games digitally. So it's like you could do that easily with 2 Switches, but then a third Switch.
Oh my God. It's almost like if you had this removable storage that you could just take out of one Switch and put in a different Switch, that would solve that problem.
All I heard there was piracy.
This fucking guy.
Piracy. When I started going all digital, I didn't even have kids. This is not my fault.
You can buy the game again.
You can go fuck yourself.
Damn, get fucked, Christian.
I almost did that.
I think the kids might be your fault. So in a roundabout way,
listen.
that kind of all comes back to you.
Get rid of the kids.
I take no
There you go.
responsibility for any of
I'm
this.
just giving you a bunch of options, and you're not just not listening to me.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I'm like, man, I don't know, there's no good answer there. I guess I should. Here's what I should do is, and this we decided on the Nintendogs, get the Wii U out, show them that, and get the 3DSs out, and just let them play on the 3DSs.
Oh, yeah.
And see how they feel about
because
that.
they're not gonna care if it's the latest thing.
Right,
They just
no.
care about the game.
Exactly.
So that makes sense.
So I'll probably end up doing that. All right, make sure that I'm
Distract them.
ready to go. Actually, I got to get Discord up in here. Let me do that, and then we'll be good to go.
Oh, yeah, I should pull that up too.
Actually, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. All right, Christian, this is our moment. What will we talk about while Jeff's gone?
Anime, let's go.
What are you watching?
That's the only topic I can talk about. No, I play. I'm back. We don't have Mike here, so I'm the resident Final Fantasy 14 player now.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like an end game raid kind of guy.
Oh yeah, I was back in the day. I was that piece of shit. Yeah, I
mean, I'd
definitely
imagine
kick
you're
people.
Still doing that, right?
No, I just I stopped playing. I do that on Destiny, but not in Final Fantasy.
That was the quickest bathroom break I've ever seen. In my life.
well,
Yeah,
I
you
did-
pee
I
in your
just go
hand.
get-
What you did?
I
Did
ran
you
to the
drink your
bathroom
pee?
to go get antacid. I was having some reflux, so
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
he
realize that
drinks
was
out of the
stressful.
bathroom. Yeah.
All right, let me mute this. We are gonna be ready to go here in a second, everybody.
I think
Yeah,
he
no.
did pee in a bottle, Benji. I think that's exactly what it is. No washing his hands. Disgusting.
Yeah, I was watching that Folding Ideas video about the rating in WoW, and it made me feel really bad about it. But then I thought about it, and I was like, no, I wasn't that asshole.
I don't believe you.
I did really hardcore on
All right,
Final
how do I get
Fantasy
to
14.
the how do I get to the threads in here?
You can click on the link on podcast stuff. You
Yeah,
wanna?
Christian, man, nice and easy.
Yeah,
for
all
you.
right, that's pretty easy for an old man like me. Look at that right there. Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, in my head.
Yep, I'm gonna bring it back here in a second. All right, Sean, are you ready to talk about the Mount Rushmore of console launch games?
I am so ready to decide some shit. Let's go.
Let's make some decisions here on Game Mess Decides. So the way this works is obviously if you've never heard one of these before, Mount Rushmore, big monument, 4 things go up there. These are 4 presidents. They're emblematic of U.S. presidents, right? They're not. There's no like, oh, these are the best presidents. Although some people might argue some of them are. Whatever. That doesn't matter. They're just like you look up the mountain, you're like, yeah, those are the presidents I would put up there. So with that in mind, what are the video games, Sean, that you would want to put up on a Mount Rushmore of console launch games? The games that represent console launches to you. Do you have one that you want to go with right away?
I got 2 megaton bombs, but we should probably like space them out a little bit. Do I do
Yes.
the obvious one first? Just like the big boy. Do we get out of the way? The
I
elephant
think
in the room?
I think we do the big boy first because I think that's gonna be the kind of thing people are
It's-
yelling about.
It's got to be Wii Sports, right?
Wow, yeah, I guess it's.
Oh, you weren't going that way?
No, you're right. No, I was. Yes, I wasn't necessarily going that way, but that doesn't mean you're in any way wrong. That is right. Because it's so much beyond even just a launch game. It was like a platform unto itself, right? It was.
It was a
something-
cultural phenomenon.
Yes.
Grandmas were playing that shit.
Let me get this written down here, and then let me bring it up so that people can follow along, and we'll try to keep audio listeners up to date as we make changes. All right, let me see here. I'm gonna bring it over here on our 2UP, and with the picture-in-picture, there you go, everybody. All right, so Wii Sports, I think that's probably gonna stick up there. It was a cultural phenomenon, so much bigger than everything else, and it's
Right.
it did everything it was supposed to do. It represented what the system could do in every way.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a lot of fun. It immediately justified buying the console for just about everyone who did so, and
Exactly.
maybe most especially for people who wouldn't normally buy a console. And, it's kind of a hard thing to argue with, right?
Right. And even for people like us who maybe got tired of the wiggle waggle horse shit, into the Wii's life cycle, at the end of the day, you can still go back to Wii Sports and you're like, Yeah, just doing some bowling, that just feels right. That just feels good. You can sit down, you can play or stand up and play it with anyone, and you'll still have a good time. To this day, I know people like at my last job, I had coworkers who were still talking about Wii Sports. Like one of them mentioned that his buddy put a Wii Wiimote through his TV, in the year like what 2020, and they're still playing this game, Jeff. Like,
And like Switch Sports, they put Switch Sports out, and it's basically that game all over again. And they just released a Switch bundle with Switch Sports, and it's clear that they're like, hey, no, Switch Sports was selling. It's selling to a kind of a similar audience, and now maybe a young audience that were kids when that was first coming out, and has a lot of nostalgia for it. And it's working. It's selling a ton because this thing was so much bigger than what we like do here, right? We talked to this narrow band of gamers that think gaming is, we know that gaming is bigger than us, but we like talking about this one side of it, and there's so much more to it, and Wii Sports is really representative of that for sure, I think.
Exactly.
You want to hear where I was going?
I would love to. Yeah, I'm curious now.
Super Mario 64. That is like the launch game to me, because it is in a similar way that Wii Sports was what it needed to be for like this big blue ocean strategy that Nintendo had. Super Mario 64 was the proof that 3D gaming was here and needed to be the next generation. Sort of whether the hardware was ready for it or not. I think that Super Mario 64 still holds up for me in just about every way. But there's a lot of games on the Nintendo 64 especially where it's like, man, this was a really rough generation in terms of visuals.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of nostalgia for it. I still really like it. We kind of weren't ready, and we wouldn't be ready till the GameCube, where everything kind of came together, and it's still like that's a timeless 3D console at this point. N64 is not that, but we had to do it because Mario.
Don't tell that to the wrong people on our timelines, Jeff. They might get very angry.
Yes, exactly. MVG can come for me. But like Mario 64 just was like, oh wait, no, this is the future. It is it's possible, and it's possible in a way that was you couldn't ignore. And it's kind of when I think about that game, I always think about they made it in like 18 months to 2 years. That's impossible. How did they come up with all these ideas and make them work almost flawlessly for what it was at the time on a controller that was so this weird abomination that again I love. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? I'm going to put it up there for now, but what do you think?
I think it is the opposite side of the coin from Wii Sports, where Wii Sports proved the Wii to a casual audience and said, this is why we went with this motion control controller instead of competing with 360 and PS3. Here is the software to prove it.
Yes.
Super Mario 64 is emblematic of why they said, okay, we're pivoting to focusing on this one, at the time, gimmick, the analog stick. They basically invented the modern iteration of that to go with that game. And they proved instantly, right off the bat, why analog controls were necessary for the future of gaming going into the 3D era. And like you said, Mario 64, it does totally still hold up. Like, there is that, late 90s jank to it, the early 3D jank in some ways. Like Mario's a little slick in some ways. Like he has like a turn radius, which has always been like a problem for me. I know you and Mike have talked about this before, but the camera, Jeff, the camera's ass. It is. I know it's lock it too. You're moving them around. It's the best they could think of to convey.
Yeah, and it was
that they had.
They had overthought it, and I mean, and this is. No, I mean, it's the best camera really I feel like they thought they could have done at the time because they didn't know what people were going to be capable of. They didn't know that like they could probably teach something new to people. So it's like, well, the camera is really just another character. So you're going to be controlling this other character. We're just going to literally make it another character. And therefore it's your move. And I'm sure this is just like the way Miyamoto's brain worked too, where he just thought about like, yeah, we should just make it that would make it friendly and easier for people to understand. And that's what makes sense to me. So I'm going to be pressing right, and then we're going to move the camera to the right, so you'll look to the left. And I mean, it definitely inverted for a very long time, even on the horizontal plane. And so, yeah, it is. I get people saying it's ass. It's the frustrating part is just you hit the button, and it kind of just makes a decision about how far it's going to move the camera, and then the other half of the time, it bumps into something that you can't see because the camera can't see it, and it can be frustrating, absolutely. But modern iterations of that, unofficial iterations,
fix that problem completely. And once that problem is fixed, shocker, that game still feels incredible to play. Like I'm a listeners might know I'm a kind of guy who's not into games where the subsequent games fix a lot of problems. It's sometimes hard for me to go back to those older iterations.
Just you watch what you're about to say.
I won't speak its name, Jeff. I'll spare you that. But that being said, something else I mentioned before, I'm a Mario 64 speedrunner casually. Like that's how much I get into this game, because it still feels incredible. It's still a wonderful, whimsical time. And I think it just for what it was doing at the time, you can't deny that it just can't be beat. Like,
yeah, and I think I think like and we only talked about the sort of cultural effects of Wii Sports and didn't get into the qualitative sort of aspect of it. And I think that's part of the Mount Rushmore, what we do here with this, where it's, even if it's the game doesn't, even if it didn't perfectly hold up, and I think Mario 64 mostly holds up, even if it didn't though, I think it still fits this category and what we're talking about.
It's the prestige.
Here.
It's emblematic.
And its importance at the time. Yeah, I mean, God, if the N64 didn't have Mario 64, what is even that whole entire system at a certain point? Like there were some games later on, yes, but without Mario 64, that thing was very, very lackluster. We got some input here from the podcast producers, and of course, you can give your input and help shape these discussions as well if you join the Patreon, patreon.com/GameMess. Jedi Moss 4 here says, Wii Sports is the most successful launch game of all time. It demonstrated the motion control capabilities of the Wii console and sparked a phenomenon when people who usually don't get into games got sucked into the hype for Wii Sports. It almost single-handedly made the Wii the success that it is. I mean, I think it almost, I think it basically, I think it single-handedly did it. I think there's almost no caveats there. I think other games probably did sell, but the second best-selling game on there, if we don't count, or the best-selling if we don't count Wii Sports, was the game that came with a Wii remote. So people had another Wiimote to play Wii Sports with. Like that's how that system went. So yeah, I think it's kind of the game there. Jayton, I think Super Mario 64 is a must on Mount Rushmore because of how that game made an impact on gaming as a whole. It also was one of 2 games that launched with the system. I wonder, is that something you would take into account here? Like if a system had a big, robust launch library, that the standout game wouldn't get as much shine? Because I don't know if I feel that way necessarily.
No, I think if it's shining hard enough, it shines through all the other crap that surrounds it, or just the mediocrity that might be around it. If it is that, if it deserves to be held up, it deserves to be held up regardless of, what else might be down below.
Mr. Bowler gave some examples, and he also has Super Mario 64 and Wii Sports on there. Also has, he's doing 64 World Brothers, kind of doing the Mario sort of thing there. I don't know if we're going to be able to get away with that. I guess maybe we should have that discussion.
Okay. I think we need to tackle this.
Yeah.
Do we do more than one for a different system? Do we do World? Because I think 64 is the most emblematic of the Mario games that have launched with a Nintendo system.
Yeah, I think so
actually
too.
It's not a ton, but
right.
I think it accomplishes best what a good launch game needs to do, which is it's a system seller. It's the reason you buy it. We can talk about whether or not it holds up or whatnot, but this is about the legacy of it. It's the difference between, that's why we're doing a Mount Rushmore and not say a tier list, because a tier list is something where, if I had input on this, I would not consider legacy. I would not consider the impact at the time, at the very least, not nearly as much, because I review things as they are. But if we're putting something on the Mount Rushmore, it's because it's iconic. And so I just think it would be redundant to do any more than Mario 64 when it just, like we just explained, it just does it so well.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. There are arguments, I think, for all the other Mario games. I guess it would be Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World 64. Those are the Mario games that launched with Nintendo consoles.
Super Mario Advance?
Yeah, and I think we could get into that, but I just...
And like 64 DS, I think.
That's true, 64 DS,
It was around there.
Yes,
it
was close enough. I remember it was close enough that I actually did use the little thumb stylus thing, where I definitely lost that a couple weeks after launch, so... The Super Mario Brothers one, though, it's a bit nebulous to me because I think we could maybe get away with saying that's definitely a launch game. But the launch of the NES is a bit hard to pin down anyhow. No one knows exactly when it launched in the United States.
True.
When it did launch, it was in New York with Rob the Robot. And also, like, yeah, Super Mario Brothers definitely was so important to the early years of that, and it definitely helped revive console gaming in the United States. But even all that said, I think Mario 64 being the kind of thing where you go into a Toys R Us and you see it actually working the way that you always imagined a 3D game could work, it still seems a bit more powerful to me in the end. But we'll keep these other Super Mario Brother games in mind as we go along. All right, let's hop back to the list here. Do you have another one you want to put up, or at least kind of put out for consideration, or even one like you want to have mentioned that you are okay with immediately shooting down? Any one of those?
Off the top of my head, those were the two that I wanted to present right off the bat.
I've got those were my honestly, now that like we've had this conversation, those definitely would have been the first two I would have gone to. And now we've had a conversation a little bit. Some more are coming to mind. This also feels like it could be a bit of a bloodbath.
Okay, so two things, and I both saw them from the chat, and they both remind me. I actually was thinking of these earlier today. Let's go this one first. Halo Combat Evolved.
Halo Combat Evolved is that does feel like a big one. Yeah, it feels pretty close in stature to Super Mario 64, and I think in many ways and for many people probably goes even above that, because it's not just a game that launched a console, it's a game that launched a brand, two brands, Xbox and Halo, brands that are considerable today. And it launched console first-person shooters as a real thing. Obviously, we had GoldenEye before, and we had other things before.
Yeah, but that game sucks, so we don't need to talk about it.
Those games are not how we play, console first-person shooters today in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, this is the one where like, oh no, it's going to be two analog sticks, and it's going to feel like this, and it pretty much has felt like that ever since. There's been some modifications. Obviously, Call of Duty came along, but I don't think that really undercuts what we would talk about here in terms of Halo being a Mount Rushmore worthy launch game. I mean, what do you think?
Okay, so at least where we are right now, I just feel like it's gotta be there. It's just like everything you just said is spot on, right on the money. It launched a brand. It basically created what we think of when we think of shooters on consoles. It didn't have online, which is like funny to look back on, but people wanted to play online so badly that they made online for that shit. That's the crazy part.
I mean, I think you think about the guy that runs Destiny now. He was someone who, Luke Smith, who just played a ton of Halo Combat Evolved in college on a LAN, and so they were just playing with all these Xbox
parties. Yes,
and like colleges were getting wired for cable internet then, and they would just have Cat 5, Cat 6 going through the walls everywhere. So everyone would just have an Xbox in their room, and they would play these massive, dormitory LAN parties. And it's like, that sounds fucking magical. That sounds like no wonder he is now working at Bungie making Destiny. That sounds like a formative experience. Yes, you're right. That they worked. That was so magical that people went out of their way to just sort of brute force this thing into something that would work in an online like setting. I don't know. I think that it's kind of hard to argue against Halo in any real way. Let's see what some of the podcast producers have to say. From Ohio State got fucking bopped. Gotta have Halo on there. It is the only game people remember from that horrific launch lineup that arguably saved the console early on. It redeemed and modernized the first-person shooter genre, and as a follow-up from last week, nailed it so well out of the gate that when people mention Halo, they think Halo 1. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think One Up versus CPUs mentioned the characters from each of these franchises. He's like, this one should be Mario, Link, Master Chief, and a Ridge Racer car. Ridge Racer's a good poll. We'll see about that. But it's a good poll. Let's see if there's someone else. Yeah, okay. But yeah, from Beef Hammer. If Sean and Jeff somehow keep Halo Combat Evolved off the list, a game that basically saved an entire new console manufacturer, I will come to Jeff's house, sit outside with a projector, and play the entire Kingdom Hearts series using his house as the screen.
Okay, Jeff, we need to get Halo off this list. It can't be on
please,
there.
I can't have that happen. I have children. Please, I must protect them. Beef Hammer says, also, Super Mario World. I'm gonna feel bad about leaving off 2 other major Super Mario games. That's just me. But
it's not gonna feel great. It's a kill your darling situation.
Absolutely. Right, I think I'm betting we're gonna get a lot more Halo. So I'm gonna just scroll through here real quick. Well, Conky Dong has Mario 64 and Wii Sports as well. I'm seeing a lot of another game that we'll probably have to talk about that I actually don't know if is gonna make it. I suppose we can bring that up right now, and then I'll start getting to the rest of this.
That's right.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Fuck.
Okay. It is unequivocally a launch game. It is a launch game.
It is a launch game.
It is a launch game.
This is something we talked about in Nintendogs.
Yes.
Just because it's on one system doesn't mean it's not on the other. That game exists.
And it goes both ways, right? Yeah, that's a Wii U game. It counts as a Wii U game. It counts towards the greatness of the Wii U library, which is pretty good.
It's the swan song of the Wii U, and it's a Switch launch game. It can be both.
Baxter's just wrong, saying Breath of the Wild is way overrated. That's just incorrect. But
that's just wrong.
In plain chase, it's got to be there. There's a lot of people in the podcast producers saying Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna put it up there for now. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what is, if I do have reservations there. It's just to me, it is not the game that even I needed for the Switch. Sold itself for me. The Switch was going to work no matter what. Breath of the Wild was for me a much more important as Zelda can be this again, and not just this again, like being as in like going back to Zelda 1. It could be this again, and then build on top of that a bunch of new ideas, and they are sort of brave in being willing to let the player have so much more agency than they've had in a long time in most games that cost this much to make. And all that stuff is huge and important, but I don't think of that in the capacity of a launch game. Now, I don't know if that's a very compelling argument, but we always get to like the 4th game on these lists, and this is where we're at. We're like trying to find these small deviations that can either keep something on or keep something off. How are you feeling about this? What's your gut check on Breath of the Wild?
Jeff, Breath of the Wild is a borderline perfect video game.
Yes.
And I just here's the thing. We're both huge Breath of the Wild fans here. So like talking us into keeping it off this list is going to be hard.
Yes.
And I did, by the way, I did see Nick TG agree and disagree with us by saying, no way, Breath of the Wild is proof of concept for taking console games on the go because of the insane scope. Kind of not wrong.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So much of the game is bite-sized stuff, like the shrines.
Yeah.
It is designed for minute-to-minute gameplay. The game is just so good as a video game, and that's why, to me, this is the other side of this conversation, because up to this point we've talked about games emblematic because they sold you on the system, they revolutionized something. Breath of the Wild just like borderline perfected the formula.
Yeah,
and it's just such a good game that it can't be overlooked.
Right, and
that's where I'm sitting right now.
And it might be just like so good we can't ignore it. I think that might be kind of where we end up. I'm thinking of another one here. You know what? Let's check in with the podcast producers real quick.
So that is the thing. That's just why I wanted to add here. This list right now, I'm scared, Jeff. I can't. I'm scared of what we're gonna have to take off because something's gonna hit us, and we're gonna be like, "Oh shit!"
And I'm right. It's exactly bloodbath. I mean that's kind of what's gonna have to happen here. But okay. So the Uncharted Wolf. He also mentioned Super Mario 64 needs to be on this for the sole reason that it ushered in the era of 3D gaming and made absolute sure that it stayed. I'm honestly, I don't know if we touched on that part as hard as we could have. Yeah, it ushered in the 3D era. A lot of things could usher in an era. Super Mario 64 proved that, this is it. We have to be here. We got to figure this stuff out now because it's coming. It's not coming. It's arrived. So, yeah. And then he says Breath of the Wild came at an uncertain time in Nintendo's history and demonstrated both the use factor of the Switch as well as showing Nintendo knows how to make a game. Yeah, I mean, it shows the use factor of the Switch. I think if we're looking at that as being one of the pillars of something that gets you up on the Mount Rushmore of console launch titles, nothing is going to come close to Wii Sports for that, right? Nothing.
Right.
And so it's like, well, we got a check mark for that box. So what other things does it do as a launch game? Here's where I'm at.
See.
Here's where I'm at.
Okay.
Tetris for Game Boy.
That was the next one I was gonna hit too, and that's the one that makes me scared
Yeah.
because Tetris Tetris was Wii Sports of 89,
Yes.
where everyone and literally everyone and their mother was playing it. Like you bought a Game Boy, it came with Tetris, you played the ever loving hell out of Tetris because it works so well in that form factor.
Yeah, and honestly, it might be we're talking a lot about launch games. I don't think something you just mentioned it, but I don't think before this we've mentioned it much, even if it was true for some of the Mario games that we talked about. Not Mario 64, but for some of the other ones. Tetris is maybe the best pack-in game ever. Because
Yes.
I mean, Wii Sports. I guess Wii Sports was one, but we didn't even really talk about that. I guess it was just sort of understood there. But
Right.
I think something about Tetris just brute forcing this a new concept, or what felt like a new concept to a lot of people, of handheld cartridge-based platform. And yeah, here's an example of what that can be like, and it's for everyone. It's just for anyone. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be weird to not have Tetris up on this list as well.
Yeah. And just to hit on the last point, I think maybe the reason we don't really think of the pack-in element of Wii Sports is simply because as good as Wii Sports is, I don't think it's a phenomenal video game. It's very good. It's a little tech demo-y.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tetris is, especially in '89, was just a solid video game. Like back when video games were very simple, it had that addictive hook. It had a couple modes. It had, the link cable support, you play your friend and all that good stuff. At the time, it was just a very good video game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Wii Sports, we ironically has like a little bit of jank that you might see on like an E3 show floor, that kind of vibe to it. So I think that's maybe why we differentiate it, despite Wii Sports being as important as it is to being the first one we mentioned.
Yeah, and I think Tetris, in the same way that Breath of the Wild, both of those are sort of proving things can work on these new portable like devices. I mean, Tetris is still more important there, I think, because it just had not, that concept had not justified itself at all at that point. Like I said, the Switch sold itself to me on its own merits, regardless of what Breath of the Wild would have been. The Game Boy, as this, I honestly, a lot of things worked in the Game Boy's factor. The price was a big part of that. But this $90 little handheld thing that was going to eat up your batteries, and turned out it didn't quite do that either, but it felt like it could. How do you really make that make sense? Well, no, it just comes with a game, and your kid's already asking for it. Just get them that, and you don't even have to get them much else. Or you can get them Hanayako Alien, like my parents got me. And it's okay. Tetris and Hanayako Alien. I'll run with that. I guess it maybe this was a you had to be there situation. I know a lot of the audience skews a little bit younger. But yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And even I can tell like what a big deal it was. I know what a big deal it was.
Yeah. Here's what I'm thinking. I think let's leave everything as it is for now. Let's leave Tetris below. Let's leave the top list for now. Let's add a few more and kind of see how we're feeling. But okay. I do want to revisit this and like make a final decision and see what we would move around.
Right away, I think we do have the incomparable Mike Minotti here in the chat. So assuming he's still watching, maybe we should read his submission to this thread.
Yes. Did he do it at the very bottom? Or let's see if I can...
It's like in the middle.
Okay, I'll find it here.
Below the giant F-Zero.
There it is. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. From Tokoto. Sonic Adventure was good, actually. Okay, Soul Calibur.
We can skip this one. We don't need
this is obviously a deranged individual. Okay, he says, Soul Calibur is objectively best Dreamcast launch game, and there were a lot of good Dreamcast launch games. At a time when we still were looking for arcade-perfect ports, it delivered something better than the arcade original. And then aside from the obvious ones, big shout out to Rogue Leader, the best GameCube launch game, and still one of the best Star Wars games. But yeah, Super Mario 64 is still the best launch game ever. There's zero chance Super Mario 64 is coming off this list. I think there's pretty much zero chance Wii Sports is coming off, and Halo.
Yeah.
But I mean, then I get okay. So, but if I had to choose between Breath of the Wild and Wii Sports, that's a tough one for me too. So, we'll see.
But what I can say right now is that as the resident fighting game guy around here, I can say it pains me a little bit because I did play the shit out of Soul
did
Calibur
too.
on my buddy's Dreamcast back in the day.
Me
It's
too.
an incredible game. It has support for the fishing rod, so that's how you know it's a quality release. But it's representative of something. That's the thing that pains me. It's because arcade games mean so much to me.
And arcade perfect ports were still rare then, and boy, that was really cool.
Yeah, like Arcade at Home. And tell me if you've heard that one before. It literally did that and more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rough one. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's just a really damn good fighting game. And we've had very good ports come to systems before. And I think Soul Calibur could have been lesser. I mean, other Soul games were before, or the other Soul game before this was a lesser version, but it did come. And just having the arcade perfect version, I don't think is enough to put it in that critical top 4 spot.
It's real close. I think if
it's right there.
If it was more like, I mean, I did also play it at my friend's house nonstop, but I feel like it was, if you were in an office at the time, I remember reading EGM and how just over the moon they were for this thing, because they were playing it every day in their office nonstop until deadline, basically, and they had to get to work. And it's like, wow, that also sounds magical in the same way that like Luke Smith playing Halo over a LAN was magical. And if it was more, if that sort of thing was more accessible, maybe I'd be like, yeah, we have to put it up there. But I think honestly, Soul Calibur, Halo Combat Evolved feel like pretty in like a similar spirit here, and I think Halo kind of comes out, it edges it out there. Not to
I would argue, like even as someone who does love this game, I think Halo's way above it personally.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. That's how you know that Halo's important on this list, because I'm not even a Halo guy, and I know the importance of this game.
Yeah, people are. Here's here's Mitch's argument against Wii Sports. He says Matt Minotti says fuck Wii Sports. I really
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, good luck with that.
What will we do without you?
Yeah. All right. I got a couple here. Let's go through. Breadfish. Man, everyone wrote so much. To me, it's just as simple as what games ship with the system and remain in the conversation at the top of the must-play list for the rest of the console's life and beyond. And I think it's pretty straightforward. Super Mario 64, Wii Sports, Halo Combat Evolved, and Tetris for the Game Boy. Honorable mentions include honorable mentions include Breath of the Wild. But being a delayed Wii U game hurts it somehow, in my opinion. Super Mario World and Soul Calibur for the Dreamcast. Okay, well,
Breadfish is one of us.
We'll just let Breadfish do this from now on. That's pretty impressive stuff, actually. I'm also going to hit the 100. From Super Harmon, when I first saw an image of the N64 controller, I thought, what the hell is that? I'm not using a joystick to play a Mario game. It wasn't until I had it in my hands and understood the movement of Mario and Super Mario 64 that it all clicked for me. And I feel like it showed how great and fluid third-person 3D games could be. Halo Combat Evolved would be my other pick, given how important it was for the Xbox, but also the fact barring a few annoying levels, it remained a great game that shows the strengths of the first-person shooter. Yeah, I agree with both of those. I think for me, I remember reading about the analog stick and being like, if you press it halfway, Mario's going to creep forward, and they would show screenshots of him kind of tiptoeing. And I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. And I would go to Toys R Us and I would play it, and I would spend time just like pressing the analog stick halfway through. I'm like, man, how did no one think of this? Like, this is unbelievable. And I was just was waiting to actually try that in person. But I think go ahead.
Question for you, Jeff. You know why the N64 controller is shaped the way it is, right?
I mean, I guess I don't know if there's a specific story behind it, but I mean, I think I just would assume they thought they need to have more separation between the analog and the D-pad. What is it? It's
because they thought that the analog stick might fail. Not as in hardware-wise, as in culturally.
Yes. Okay.
Because that's the thing, and it's me listening to you say this, like, it is a little quaint, being a little younger, because I've mostly grown up with analog gaming,
of course,
like handhelds back in the day. But yeah, they were not. It was not a sure thing because it was a revolutionary idea at the time. So that's why it's that weird tri-wing design. Because if the analog stick didn't pay off, well, they can simply say, just pivot your hand back over the D-pad and you're holding it like it's a Super Nintendo controller with grips. So that was the idea, is that they could just like hard bail out if the analog stick proved to
I think my
not catch
N64
on with
controller's
people.
upstairs. I want to just go grab it by the D-pad right now because it's always like such a weird thing after years and years and years of using that analog stick to then go like reach out all the way on the other side and be like, what the fuck? Like, because it's something you just never ever used. And now that feels weird. Fish in Love says Breath of the Wild, Halo Combat Evolved, Super Mario 64, and Super Mario World. And he says, anyway, I think you guys are plagiarizing this site's content. And he gives us a link to a site called GamesBeat, which over the Retro Beat did the 10 best US launch titles of all time. This comes from Mark Mitch Tolkoto. Let me scroll down here, see if this is going to be lined up here a little bit. You guys are going to have it cut off for you. Super Mario Brothers, Tetris for Game Boy, Super Mario World, Super Mario 64, Soul Calibur for Dreamcast, Castlevania Circle of the Moon. It's a pretty good one. Halo Combat Evolved, Super Monkey Ball, Wii Sports. For GameCube. Wow. This is back before I think he had fully recognized how good Rogue Leader is. Because I bet this would be Rogue Leader now.
Before he became the GameCube fanboy.
Before he finally realized how good the GameCube was and learned how to eject a fucking disc. Breath of the Wild. And then, there it is. Okay, so let's just circle back here. Where are you at with this list right now? I'll tell you where I'm at. I want to take Breath of the Wild up and I want to put Tetris on.
Ooh.
I know, it's messed up.
But this is why I was saying this is the fucked up thing, because I can see it. I can see it, and I don't want to see it.
I don't want to either, but I think I like Kyle Martin, Titanfall. Yes, Titanfall for Xbox One.
Oh yeah, shout out to Titanfall.
Yeah, definitely a shout out. God, I played a lot of that game. It deserved a better fate than it got.
Incredible.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna
but Tetris and Breath of the Wild.
Nick Turbo just wanted to say Fusion Frenzy, I think. So he did that. Sosuke, Halo Combat Evolved was just perfect and really did give us what we have today for shooters, such as Battlefield and Call of Duty and the hundreds of other shooters. Xylax, there's a reason no third-party games are being seriously considered. These are all console exclusives. Breath of the Wild is hurt by being available on 2 platforms. I just don't know if that's going to win over me and Sean. I
think we made our stance at least pretty clear on this, where it being on one thing doesn't affect it, beyond. Let me toss this out at you. Hypothetically, if Titanfall was on this list, I didn't play Titanfall on Xbox. I played it on PC. I would still give it that nod, despite the fact that I didn't even play it on that platform.
Right.
So,
and I played.
That's just where I'm at with that.
I played Knack in my dreams, but I would still give that to PlayStation 4. Mike has people chanting Knack in chat, so that's always fun. Let's see. There was someone up here that did say Knack is funny. That was
he's right.
Uncharted
Titanfall wasn't a launch game.
What? Oh,
it was like March. It
that's
came
right.
Like later.
God, that's right. Now I do remember that now. Man, that would have been much better if it was a launch game. It would have been a much better position. Okay, so some mentioned this in chat, and this is noticeable. What about PlayStation? And I think someone mentioned Ridge Racer earlier. Is there a Ridge Racer launch game that could possibly even play on this list?
Well, I mean, it would be the first Ridge Racer launch with the PS1, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some. There's a Ridge Racer with the PSP. I'm sure there's a Ridge Racer with the PS2. But the one I do remember is Ridge Racer for PS1. Yeah, sure.
I just don't see any of those competing against anything else up there. All right, not even in the B tier.
What about the Bouncer for PlayStation 3? Okay, moving on.
5th spot on this Mount Rushmore, Jeff.
Yeah, Mike's saying Ridge Racer 6 for 360, Ridge Racer 7 for PS3. Well, fuck me.
Tell you what, Mike. Tell me why Ridge Racer 6 should be on this list, and maybe we'll put it on there. I don't see you making that argument.
Fuck me. Someone just said Astrobot to me, and now my world's being turned upside down. Okay.
All right, let's have that conversation. Let's talk about it.
Astrobot is...
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna say, fuck no. You tell me why I'm wrong.
Fuck you, maybe. Yeah, it's a really good game. It is a very good tech demo with so much personality and a lot of great stuff going on, and the character's great. It's got the best built-in speedrunning mode of any game.
It's up there.
It's up there. It's definitely worth mentioning. It probably is the best Astro, and I did beat it. That's right, I did beat it, and it might be up there with best pack-in games, but probably not even that. I mean, if we're talking about best actually, it might be.
Oh no, Super Mario World.
Yeah, okay, true, okay. But it's up there. It's in that conversation, which is impressive on its own. Yeah, it's not going to make this list. So if anyone else has any recommendations for PlayStation launch games, it's kind of a tough one. All right, let me go through some of these other ones real quick. Octo, I'm going to be biased to say Castlevania Circle of the Moon for Game Boy Advance, since it's the only launch game I played at launch. Notable for being a great game. Remember seeing the GameSpot review and getting hyped. It was like a 9.6. Tons of content, the blueprint for portable Castlevania games going forward, of which there were 5-ish more. A great game all around. However, the animation on the main character is dog shit, and it was impossible to play on the OG Game Boy Advance without a fucking worm light. Still, the overall quality was kind of insane for a launch game. Yeah, I adore Circle of the Moon. I didn't have to play it with a worm light at first because I played under the harsh lights of a Taco Bell in the middle of the day, and that's where I played after first buying it. I've told that story before, but it's very easy to see in there, and God, that was a good game. That's the one that definitely really made me a Castlevania fan and a Metroidvania fan. Really, because I think I probably had maybe gone to play Super Metroid at that point, but it hadn't really sunk in how much I was into that sort of style play until that. Let's see. Anything else? Okay. Dr. Sus, the SNES launched with arguably the greatest 2D Mario game ever made, and a racing game that was so good we're still analyzing it to this day, how the devs were able to pull off such insane graphics. MVG did a whole video recently on this. Can't beat this lineup, and that game was F-Zero. Another fantastic game. I want to read this one from Conky Dong. He mentions a lot of the ones we mentioned so far. He also mentions Genji, Days of the Blade, for giving us historically accurate battles with giant enemy crabs.
Let's go.
All right,
Well, appreciate the shout, but no.
Yeah, no. Jamie H. Christmas Eve mentions Jet Set Radio Future because art style, music, gameplay, everything about it seemed to resonate with early teenage Jamie. Still play it to this day thanks to CXBX while I wait for Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Yeah, I think Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is supposed to come out next year, but yeah, definitely a very stylish game, 100%. Maybe one of the most stylish launch games ever, but probably still not going to be up on this list. All right, I think it's time to finalize this list, though.
So I think at this point, there's really only one decision that needs to be made, right?
Yes.
Okay, Jeff. Be devil's advocate for me. Tell me why Tetris belongs on this list instead of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is when I think about the Mount Rushmore, I do think about this is emblematic of launch, of what you need in a launch game. And for me, like I've said, I don't think the Switch needed Breath of the Wild in the way the Game Boy needed Tetris. And I think that the Breath of the Wild kind of almost stands on its own as more important to the lineage of Zelda than to the success of the Switch. Obviously, it didn't hurt. It was, of course, it's instrumental in that, but I don't think it's as instrumental as Tetris was to the long-term success of the Game Boy. Tetris also has a lot of the Wii Sports vibes of bringing a lot of people in, and I don't know. If it doesn't make it, obviously it's the number 5. Clearly. I don't know. The more I look at this list, the more this is probably right. I just feel like maybe I want to reach a little bit further back than just what we have here, because we got everything since these are all games. Well, Mario 64 is actually pretty fucking old at this point, so maybe that's enough. I'm like, but we probably want one from a 2D console, right? Oh, I see. We've asked the chat.
Yes, I've asked the chat their opinion on this.
All right, it's close right now.
There's a game mess asides. We're getting the community involved in here. I want to know what they think.
Okay. Mike says Tetris.
Mike says Tetris.
It's leaning towards Tetris right now in the early vote. If let's see, 57 to 43 Tetris.
Yeah, you gave me the spiel, and I'm leaning. I'm still on the Breath of the Wild side, but I can see the point.
Here's the thing. You know what? Let's look at the list now, and then let's actually put Tetris up there. And I think it looks like the right list to me. To me, that looks right. I love Breath of the Wild. It is, to me, a near perfect game.
Yeah.
You said it. Mount Rushmore of console launch titles: Wii Sports, Super Mario 64, Halo Combat Evolved, Tetris. That's right.
I think it is. And here, I'm going to end the poll here.
And Tetris was pulling away a little bit there too. Yeah. Okay.
Tetris with about 2/3 of the vote, so the community agrees. I think everyone's right. I think it's got to be Tetris.
Yeah.
Just, at the end of the game, we gotta think. At the end of the day, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Of console launch titles. What is going to be the most iconic, emblematic of what a console launch title is? And I think, the importance, because let's look at our other entries. Wii Sports, Super Mario 64, Halo Combat Evolved were all revolutionary games in their own right. Tetris is as well.
Yes.
You had what? Hillary Clinton playing it on her freaking private jet or whatever back in the day. Everyone was playing this game. You're right. It looks right. It does look right.
Mike Minotti, without looking it up, name a fucking Game Boy Color launch game. I dare you. Fucking name one. You motherfucker. All right. Yeah. So
I mean, wait, Jeff, do you count launch, like the launch tiles of a revision? Like what launch tiles would there?
It would have been
because it's a Game Boy game. It's a Game Boy game at that point. So
it was the Link's Awakening DX came out for when it launched, I guess. But I mean, does that really count? Barely, because it's just like a color mod for that game.
Get the fuck out of here, Mike.
Wii Sports, Super Mario 64, Halo Combat Evolved, and Tetris for all our audio listeners. Of course, if you want to catch the sort of the debate and watch how the list unfolded, you can always watch on YouTube later. Thanks for everyone who's watching live alongside us. Let's do a quick catch up on the Fantasy Critic League. Let's
Jeff, I would love to do that after a tiny additional break.
Let's do it. Stick with us, everybody. All right, cool. We're good. Do what you got to do. Do your business.
I will be right back.
All right, sure thing.
Give my makeshift camera a break while I'm at it.
And you know what? Yeah, it's. Sean, remind me to send Sean a goddamn webcam. I got like two just sitting on this computer. I got one there. I got a couple behind me. They're all decent. He's using his phone, everybody. Hey, Nick Turbo just bought the Castlevania Advance Collection. Fuck yes. Yes, you will enjoy that. Let's tweet this right now. And then let's take
Mike,
this.
How are you doing, Mike? Are you still alive? How much cocaine did you did on Disney? I don't know what they do in Disney.
Basically cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mike, how do you feel about that Cocaine Bear movie? I'm like,
Oh,
I haven't even watched the trailer.
I need to watch the trailer.
I'm not even interested in it, honestly. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. People's like, there's a movie burning cocaine. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I'm like, we don't need to we don't need to make memes in the movies, right? I'm sure it does look funny. I bet it's gonna come out and be pretty good because the sophistication of Hollywood turning memes into movies has probably improved a lot since Snakes on a Plane. Yeah, Snakes on a Plane. Mike says so, right? But still.
I'm tired of all these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking plane.
And if Sam Jackson was in Cocaine Bear, what would we say? It's like, I am sick of you bogarting all of the cocaine, Bear. Isn't it a true story about someplace in Kentucky? I hope so. It sounds like Kentucky's from what I've known. Here's what I know about Kentucky. They have much cheaper liquor. So when it's time to have
liquor and cocaine
a big party in Columbus, what you do is you drive down to Cincinnati, you go across the border to Kentucky.
You get cocaine feels weird.
Yeah, it's thrown up your nose. That is weird. Yeah. That seems just kind of stupid a little bit, actually. You know, let me bring this.
Have you ever smelled salt, like the aromatic salts?
Look at Sean's hand. Like, we got way too close to that.
He's a hard worker.
It's kind of looking like.
Is that a hair?
What? Oh, is that a hair? What?
That's an Argentinian joke.
Oh,
That's
okay. Well, no, not allowed.
If you jerk off too much, hair is gonna come out of your hand.
It's down there. Oh, no, we got that. Yeah, if you masturbate too much, your palms will get hairy. Absolutely. Yeah, we got that. I don't know. No one said it in like 20 years, but it definitely was a joke. When
it's alive and well here in Argentina. Let me tell you.
I don't know. There's something like body horror about just seeing Sean's hand up close like that, and just like, oh, this is who I'm talking to. It's me hosting Game as Decides with my guest Cthulhu Skin Flesh. Yeah.
Pure skin.
Read his palm. Yeah, well, this bitch is dead.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He's gonna keep playing Pokemon. Does
Sean have a sexy Peach poster, or did I imagine that? We will. Let's investigate his background when he gets back.
He has a serious suit.
I guess I did just tweet this. So if you're joining us now, we're just on a small break. We just finished the Mount Rushmore of console launch titles.
Oh god, was it stuck out my hand that whole time?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Your fleshy hand monster.
Yeah, you can see all my lifeline and all that crap.
Mm-hmm. People getting people. Here's the 2 responses so far on Twitter. Okay, dude, you forgot Knack and no Super Mario / Duck Hunt. It's like, yeah, and we got to make some cuts somewhere.
Duck Hunt, come on, I like Duck Hunt.
Knack's not making that list.
And I just think you can't. There's no way that the Super Mario plus Duck Hunt can count.
Yeah,
that's
no.
People are confusing at that point the pack-in that came a little bit later with what would have been an actual launch game.
Yeah, launch was Rob.
Yeah. At least for us, yes. Yeah. Derek W says this is just the correct list. And Phil Tibotowski, who I love, he says I played the shit out of Luigi's Mansion, though. I mean, we didn't even mention Luigi's Mansion.
Man. Mike is pointing out my background. Yes, that is Biker Rosalina.
Okay, yes, that's what we were gonna ask. I thought I saw that too, and he said a sexy picture of Peach, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Rosalina on a bike, and I'm wondering what it says to me that I knew that.
I thought
anyone who has played Mario Kart with me knows that is Biker
that's
Rosalina,
right. That's where I would know it.
Deserves a place on my wall.
Yes,
absolutely.
Also,
you can see my wonderful Darkstalkers.
Darkstalker, yeah.
There. Yeah, which is it's actually a cover from one of the Udon comics, which is very cool.
Okay,
you know what? We're just pointing.
How much of Felicia's body
can
you see over there? Because I mean, how do you get anything done with that? Just on display for you all the time.
Well, I mean, that's behind me. I got the good one over there.
Okay, all right, very cool.
One last thing. Here, one for the YouTube viewers. I forgot to show off my Pikachu sweater on Nintendogs.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't actually get to see it.
Yeah, I got a different one tonight. So here, just for YouTube, my Street
Fighter. Oh, wow, that's very good.
Sweater.
Hadouken!
And Ryu, and then the KOs and everything. Their Hadouken is a snowflake. I love this one.
King, I don't think no one mentioned Condemned Criminal Origins for the 360. Oh, that's a nice poll.
There's a reason for that, Jeff.
That's a nice poll. I like that.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, listen, it was never going to make the list. Okay. A lot of people are actually
mostly posters automatically in horny gel. You must be new around here, Burrito.
Most people are just agreeing with the list on Twitter.
This prison is run by the prisoners.
Yeah, we're stuck in here with them. That's absolutely true. Okay, let's get back to this. Let me, you know what? Can I just log in real quick? Give me a second. Let me just actually log into Fantasy Critic on here so we can actually see it.
Okay. I was gonna say I didn't tell you anything you need to know.
Let's do this. I wonder if I could sign up with Google if that'll work. Nope. Wants me to register, so I'll look at my password. No one hack my system. We'll do this quick check-in, and then we'll do our Hall of Fame check-in as well, everybody, and then we'll get into what we've been playing this week. There is okay. You know what?
We decided that list pretty quickly, so we got a little bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, it was tough, but also I think we did the kind of what's been happening natural here, where we come up with pretty close to what the list is going to be with the first couple of answers. I think some of it's just like, oh, this is obvious, as I think was evidenced by the podcast producers mostly mentioning, like so many people just mentioning Super Mario 64 sort of out of habit. All right. Yeah. I am logging in now to the right browser.
Soul Calibur over Wii Sports, Mike? You're insane. You're insane. Like, no chance.
Yeah, that's just his anti-Wii bias.
Listen, I hate the Wii too, but you know what?
Yeah, but you control your bias like a good journalist.
Exactly.
Unlike him. Okay, here we go. Now we have... Yeah, this is good enough. All right, let's bring it back.
All right.
All right, Sean. I'm feeling very satisfied with what we accomplished with our Mount Rushmore. Let's check in on the Fantasy Critic League, where I think we had two different leagues. Oh, motherfucker. Okay,
that's two leagues.
That doesn't sound very good. So we had two leagues. I think one Mike was in, one I was in, right? And I'm looking at mine, and I'm doing pretty good.
I'll link you to the other one if you don't know where it is.
Okay, sure. Yeah, is it? Will I be able to like see it? I guess, is there a public version of it that I'd be able to see?
Yeah, you can look at the results.
Okay, cool, awesome. And then let me find that here. You put it in. Where are you putting it in the podcast stuff?
Podcast stuff.
All right, let me do that real quick. People are gonna probably see some stuff. Let's copy message link. There we go. Okay, I can bring it up right here. So what's going on over in the Mike Minotti League?
What's going on is I'm fucking dominating, yo.
Okay.
Look at that.
Turbo Sean in first. There we go.
9 points. Second place has 64.
That's pretty good. Although your points projected second. So there's still a chance that Fusion Rated, Lodge of the Sorceresses, which is the name of their publisher,
This is the thing that scares me. They have a Callisto Protocol, and that I feel like that could swing. That could go either way, I think, at this point.
I feel like I'm not allowed to say anything, so I won't say anything. I will be very interested to see how that plays out, though. That is, that's a big one. And
I won't get too big for my britches here. In our league, I picked second, so guess who got Elden Ring?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Elden Ring. You know what? Let me see this other one. Let's see who's in first over here and see if they got Elden Ring as well. It's Beefhammer, number one, and
second place, because Jan had Elden Ring with me.
Okay, that's right. So let's see. This is just a lot of really heavy, like a lot of good cuts. Plague Tale Requiem 84, Sifu 81, Immortality 88, Metal Hellsinger is 78, Midnight Fight Express 76, Sonic Origins 77. This is just hitting. Yeah,
Beef just had some very solid picks there.
Yeah, man.
But that's where he tops out, because GoldenEye ain't coming out this year. So.
Correct. Yes. So let's see where
that's as high as he goes.
Points projected. So I guess we should explain what this is for people who are just joining us and don't know. So Fantasy Critic is where at the beginning of the year we all did a draft and we picked games based on what we thought their Metacritic score was going to be, and so you have your own publishing team. And the combined points that all those games get by how many points over 70 they score on Metacritic is how much you get at the end of the year. There's some weird things with counter picks. So if someone picked a game and you think it's going to do bad or not come out, well, you could counter pick that, and some of those points get counted towards yours. But mostly it's about picking games you think are going to get a high review score. I kind of got screwed a little bit.
Speaking of counter picks, though, I want to say real quick, Jeff, I had the ballsiest of counter picks in Tears of the Kingdom.
That is, yes, that was supposed to come out, and that
was me getting screwed by because I picked the way it did is I don't know what you call it, but where like the draft goes in one direction and then loops back around. So because I picked second, I counter picked second to last, so I wasn't left with Bubkiss. So I was like, well, guess what? Tears of the Kingdom, I don't think that it's getting delayed, and I've never been more mixed on game getting delayed in my life. So
you needed that to get delayed, because you would have been screwed, because like those points would have hurt you bad, because there was the idea of the counter pick is ideally you want it to be a bad game that someone else picked, because then their negative points count towards yours, is my understanding of how it works. So
you get points the worse that the game you counterpick is.
Right. So a game being delayed
I should say.
Delayed, like that's better than it coming out being fantastic, obviously, but it is still going to probably just be 0 points, right, for all the delayed games that got counterpicked. Because I have a delayed game that's counterpicked as well, and so I'm probably just going to get 0 for that. Let's see. I did want to read.
If it gets delayed, yeah, because that's what I mean. Snake Draft, by the way, is what that's called. Thanks, benching Kyle.
Yeah. Beef Hammer wanted me to read his publisher name, so let's go for it. Project Chaos Sharp FE, a fragmentary passage with new funky mode and Knuckles from the DMC series games.
You got Sharp FE. I'm proud of you, Jeff.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know. Of course I know. When Mike said it wrong, I was very excited, and then I still didn't know the rest of it, but I knew Sharp FE. That's a reference to Jeopardy, everybody. Again, that's happening tomorrow night. Yeah. So he seems like he's in pretty safe position here. Because Blackheart Vinyl only has one game coming, and let's see, that is going to be it's Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance, and that's not coming out. Yep. So that's tough. Let me just. I'll read my games, and we'll read Mike's games, so people can get that, and then we'll move on. Where is Mike actually in your league? Where's he ranked?
Let's see. He is ranked 13th out of 18.
Oh yeah.
Although Play to Have Fun is his league, and Mike Manai's picks were Bayonetta 3 and Sonic Origins.
Okay, so
that's it.
He just forgot his login information, huh?
Yeah, he forgot.
Oh no!
He counter picked Dead Space Remake, so smart on you for that, I guess.
Yeah, Mike, you can still log in and add some more games, and then you might be able to beat me because my whole full thing is filled out, and I'm number 11 in my league.
He's telling us in the chat that he tried. Try harder, maybe. I don't know what to tell you, Mike.
You didn't. It literally looks like you did not try at all. That's what it looks like.
Yes. I can tell you, I bought games over the course of the year, and other people didn't. So
where I got fucked is Saints Row with a 63. So what happened was a lot of my.
You picked Saints Row.
Yeah, so a lot of my games were not going to come out, and so after E3. A little bit after E3, I dropped a bunch of stuff and was looking around at things I could spend my $100 budget on, which is another thing. You can get like games that have been dropped by other players, and you can get still the free agents. And there's like a million free agents because there's a bunch of tiny little games that are in this database. But I'm like, man, I need one that's kind of like a sure thing for a solid 75, 76. Like that should be Saints Row. Saints Row's not going to be a 90, but it could probably get to a 75. Fucking 63 minus 7 points. So Windjammers 2 coming out, getting a 77, completely undid all of that. And then I'm left with Neon White at 89, 19 points.
Neon White was so close to getting 90. It's important to note that if a game scores over 90, each point over 90 is worth twice as much, which is why me and Jen were sitting pretty with Elden Ring, because all the points over 90 were doubled and got like 97 or something like that.
Yep. My counter pick is Senua's Sacrifice. I can't remember how to say it. Yeah. Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. And then Fire Emblem Engage was my unannounced game that I was trying to make a play for. I thought there was a chance. That didn't happen. Braid Anniversary Edition doesn't look like that's going to come out this year. And then the Diofield Chronicles got 1 point for that. And Roller Drome was actually a pretty good one, though. That got an 80, got 10 points. But I'm number 11 in my league. And I have 30 fantasy points. So how many points does Mike have? Now I'm just playing to beat Mike. He's got 22. So if he just goes in there, picks a couple of games that all get like 1 point each in December, he could probably get pretty close. So
it's also important to note when our league ends, because it should end when we started it last year, correct?
Oh, okay. Is it? Yeah, I guess it probably will, where it's like a full calendar year.
Benji Bob, you were the spearhead of this. Can you tell us like when does this end? Does it end in like what, February or whenever we started? Because I'm just looking at upcoming releases and like still counts these. Oh, it ends at the end of the year. Okay.
Right. That's okay. That sounds right.
January 31st. Okay, so the end of January. Got it.
See here, a Jat in Time. Yeah, Jat in Time had the Elden Ring, AI, the Somnium Files. Honestly, if Jat in Time goes in there and picks a few, they might have a chance. But the problem is they have 2 open slots. They have the unannounced one. That's not going to matter in December. But they have 2 regular slots here to fill in. But there's just not much to pick from. I guess you can go Hello Neighbor 2, Dwarf Fortress. That might be one I could see doing really well. It also might not get enough reviews to matter.
Yeah, it's worth knowing that Benji did correct himself. It is December 31st, so the end of this calendar year. So,
Okay.
Which also means obviously you can only pick games still coming out this year, which isn't much, as we can see right here in the gamer browser.
You know what? Let me see here. Let me go right here. Go to my. Oh, wait, this is the right one. This is my league. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna try to get a game right now. Can I? What are the rules of dropping games that already have a rating? Can I drop Saints Row? Probably can't, right?
No, you are locked in until a game comes.
All right,
or you are locked in after a game comes out.
So I might just be screwed then. Let me see. You know what? I'll do this after the show. I was going to try to make a bid for a Little Gator game, which I think has a pretty good chance of being pretty decent. That comes out December 14th. But now the rest of you that High on Life, the sentiment on that has like turned around a little bit since people got hands-on previews with that. I bet that's going to be pretty okay. So there's still a chance for you guys out there that have your slots open. I've been Saints Road, so no hope for me. All right, let's switch over to the Hall of Fame. What we did 2 weeks ago now, it was because basically a couple episodes ago, me and Mike picked a couple more games to add to our Game Mess Decides Hall of Fame. We picked Metal Gear Solid, Yoshi's Island, Final Fight, and Street Fighter 2, and the results for the entrance into the Game Mess Decides Hall of Fame is Street Fighter 2 and Metal Gear Solid. I think those are two very fine additions. It joins Super Mario Brothers and what was the other one from last week? Now I can't remember. So I can remember putting
last week. I don't remember.
Or, it was like 2 weeks ago, but once again, it was how dare you not pick Yoshi's Island? Once again, these are one each, I think, for me and Mike, I believe. Because I think he picked Metal Gear Solid and I picked Street Fighter 2, and I think I did Yoshi's Island and he did Final Fight. So that's Super Metroid, right? Super Metroid
was that. Have you guys only done one? Because I remember Super Metroid was.
Yes, we've only done one round. This was the round we took a little bit extra because we had Thanksgiving and stuff, and there would only have been a day to vote. So
one Super Metroid,
we gave people a little bit of extra time, and the podcast producers decided that our full cadre of Hall of Fame entrants now are Super Mario Brothers, Super Metroid, Street Fighter 2, and Metal Gear Solid. And I will put that into podcast stuff afterwards so I don't forget. But let me just put it here for now. Super Mario Brothers and Metroid. Okay.
How you feel about the results, Jeff?
Yes, I mean, so far this is looking right. I think that you kind of, if you were actually putting together a physical Hall of Fame, what are the kinds of games you would want in there? I think you want something like Street Fighter 2 and Metal Gear Solid in the first batch of games to come there. Metal Gear Solid 1 to me is such an ideal concept of what a game could be in that form of trying to like mimic films while still being very, very video gamey. And I adore that like sort of top-down era of Kojima games. I actually just started playing Signalis on the Steam Deck, which is a survival horror game that is very much playing on that era of. Obviously, I never played much Silent Hill.
PS1 inspired.
Yes, PS1 inspired. It reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Ghost Babel on the Game Boy Color.
Oh, I still need to play that one.
It's a very good game. And
I love Game Boy Color like specific spin-offs where they like shrunk the game down and they came up with like kind of a new idea to make it work.
Yes,
like
and that's the best one of those. And it's just like, like Metal Gear Solid was really something special at the time. It's the Metal Gear Solid game I would most want to go back to at any one time, even though a lot of them are very good. And I love 5, especially the gameplay in that is great. But Metal Gear Solid is great. And then Street Fighter 2, I mean, you're the fighting game guy. Street Fighter 2 is a genre, a culture-defining video game.
Yes, it's a legend. It's so like people who weren't there, and again that includes me, so I've heard the information secondhand, but like everyone who was there will tell you, and like I think even outside the FGC, like you can probably attest this, Street Fighter 2 was everywhere in the early 90s, like 91. Just you couldn't go to a laundromat, an arcade, whatnot, and not see like people playing Street Fighter 2. It took the world by storm. And when people talk about playing Street Fighter, a lot of times they're still talking about how they played like Super Turbo back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hell, Super Turbo. That was my first fighting game that I remember playing. That's part of where Turbo Sean comes from. Is that it's such an iconic game that's stuck with me even, and it's incredible and it deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I do want to say Metal Gear Solid as well. I just want to give my thought on that real quick.
Yeah, please.
So up until this year, the only Metal Gear games I had played were Metal Gear Rising, which everyone knows, I think, at this point, that I love. It's one of my favorite games. And then Metal Gear Solid 5, which, like you mentioned, the gameplay of that is so good. Top tier, top notch. It just feels so good to play. But up till now, I haven't played any other Metal Gear game. And Jeff, I binged the whole Metal Gear Solid series earlier this year. And I played them in as original form as I could, as it was available to me. So Metal Gear Solid 1, I played in Duck Station as intended, with like no graphical enhancements or anything like that, outside of like correcting the texture wobble and stuff like that. But I just played PS1 as Metal Gear Solid, and I tell you what, like I mentioned before, I don't like old jank sometimes. MGS1 is probably the best game in that series still. It holds up so well. It's because of the limitations of what they were working with, limitations in breed innovation. And that's what happened. Like this was Kojima before he had his head up his own ass, and he lost control of the series with 2. Like, it was very focused. He knew what he was trying to do, and the localization on that game is incredible as well. Like the way it was recontextualized to fit in as like an 80s action movie motif, which maybe isn't necessarily the most accurate to the source material, but hit really hard with us here in the West. And in the US, it feels so good. It plays up to nostalgia. It's still incredible. It's still a masterpiece. And it also deserves to be here in the Hall of Fame, I think.
I agree. When you got to Metal Gear Solid 3, which version did you play?
So those I actually did the HD versions because they still have issues in other ways to play.
Subsistence is significantly pretty different than Metal Gear Solid 3 from what I can remember.
Oh, right, yeah. When I said playing them as original as possible, it's just like I didn't put any enhancements on them or anything. And I would try to play like the whatever original version was available.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So once again, Super Mario Brothers, Super Metroid, Metal Gear Solid, and Street Fighter 2.
Good looking list so far.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, if you want, if you're in chat, we could pick some games. Now let's go because then people will know and they will vote against you. So
exactly.
We'll figure this out later. So we'll have a new set of games to get nominated into the Hall of Fame. We actually end up picking those after Last of the Nintendogs anyhow. So on Tuesday night, it'll go up into podcast producers. You'll find a new thread, a new actually message board now because we got forums inside of our Discord for Game Mess Decides coming up on Thursday. So you'll get 2 full days to vote. We'll make sure that everybody knows. If you have game recommendations for the Hall of Fame, you can always throw them in podcast producers. That's still going to be kind of me and Mike are going to decide the games to get nominated. We're going to have everybody keep voting on them though, and I think this is working out pretty good so far. All right, Sean, what games have you been playing?
Well, I have been playing more of Pokemon Violet a little bit since last we talked on Nintendogs. I haven't I haven't done any investigation on what's going on with the patch or anything like that. But I mentioned that I was right before the 9th badge that I was queued up for, and I got that while I was playing in bed the other night. So I am about halfway through that game, still having a blast with that. But people can listen to Nintendogs if they want to hear about my adventures so far. The big one is last night I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and we do this probably like every week. We do this where we were playing Rumbleverse, still going strong on that game. Still love Rumbleverse. Season 2 just came out recently, and they so what they did is instead of creating a new map, they just expanded the map out. And so there's just this you like Rapidal City. It's this very urban environment. They like tacked on what they did is basically like a resort. And so it's a completely different type of environment. Yeah, because like beaches and sandy, and then you have like tropical attractions and stuff. So it feels very different, despite just being tacked onto the map via like a bridge. So I think that's a smart way to do that. And then they did a bunch of balancing and like adding new items and stuff. So still having a lot of fun with Rumbleverse. Definitely, like for me, it is in contention for like my game of the year, because I just every time I play it with friends is so much fun. Just the Hulk Ultimate Destruction, style movement, everything is so satisfying. And I mentioned to you like a while back that it seemed like the population was dying down a little bit, and season 2 did bring in more people.
Good.
So I didn't have to just play against bots like you sometimes do in games that do that sometimes when the population dies. So yeah, I had a ton of fun playing that the other night. And then I have here so the Pokemon TCG, I play this every week, and I wanted to slide this in here because Jeff, I think tomorrow,
okay,
it's time. I think Maiden Voyage, I think my first stream is going to be tomorrow, the weekly Pokemon TCG tournament I play in.
Okay, that's fun. All right, cool. So where can people find that? Just let's mention it now since you just gave a tease.
Yeah, twitch.tv/TurboSean. It's gonna be at 3 p.m. Eastern. I know that steps on a little bit of toes, but that's when the tournament is every week. Yep. I know. I'm sorry, you can't be there.
You know what?
I know you were dying to see it.
Well, maybe if you're still going, how long does it take? So maybe we'll raid you, and when we're done.
It's like a couple hours. We'll see what I feel like doing.
When we get done with UPF, I'll see if you're still going.
Okay, and yeah, the plan is to do that. So you don't even have to know the game at all. If you just want to like hang out, chill, I'm just gonna be playing some cards, listening to some tunes. You want to hang out, you want to have the game explained to you, I'll do that too. But yeah, I'm just gonna see how it goes, because I just want to share this with people, share a little bit of what I love about gaming, and outside of video games a little bit, but still within that realm. I think it's gonna be a fun time, fun cozy time.
You could stream if you really want people to watch. Is that Marvel Snap?
Man, screw that game.
I don't know if we've had this conversation on the podcast before.
You know what? This is a chance.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, real quick. I played Ask Libra. It is not Ask Libra, although it sounds like that. Asked Libra with a T. It's all one word. It is Zelda 2 with a lot of weird talking up front. There is a guy named Kizo. It's not Kaizo, but Kizo, so with an E.
Not Kaizo Mario.
Yeah, no, not Kaizo. Yeah, Kizo. Apparently been making this game for 16 years in his off time from his work, and it kind of looks like a Jaguar game in a lot of ways, where it's it's like, okay, what if the Super Nintendo went on and we didn't have a 3D system, we just got a better Super Nintendo? It looks like that. It's a 2D action RPG. There's way too much story up front. And then once you get into it, the combat's pretty good, and the loop is pretty good, and the music is pretty good, and I'm kind of like digging it. I just don't know. I had to play for so long before I even got a taste of that stuff. It kind of turned me off a little bit at first, but I think it's pretty neat what they're going for. And honestly, a new take on Zelda 2 is always kind of a pretty welcome thing for me, where I'm like, okay, there's something there. And like the first enemies you encounter are just little slime guys, just like Zelda 2. So it's pretty obvious what they're going for. And then Need for Speed Unbound. It is,
yes.
I don't know. I think it's pretty underwhelming. I think the racing sort of just feels inert a little bit.
Interesting, because I've been like hearing some good stuff about it just from people talking about it on Twitter.
I think it's a pretty good Need for Speed. I think it's a pretty decent Need for Speed. I don't think it quite feels I think the problem with Need for Speed is it needs to be like this arcadey racing game for everybody, and it feels pretty watered down. And I was like, at a certain point, I started dialing in the power drifting, where they're like, okay, tap the brake and keep hitting the gas to power slide, and that worked. But really, I should have been doing the handbrake. Once I started doing the handbrake slide, that worked a little bit better and felt a little bit better. But it's like every time I wasn't power sliding, the game just kind of felt slow and a lot of this, I'm early on, so I don't have a big boost meter, or building up boost takes a little bit longer. But even beyond that, it just doesn't. I don't know. It wasn't super compelling just driving around this fictionalized Chicago. I'll say I like the look, the realistic looking city matched up with the anime sort of special effects that go over your car, and when you start doing a slide or start doing donuts. Like it's not just smoke coming off your tires, but they'll do little squiggly lines next to your tires, off your car, and when you start hitting a jump, if you hit a big enough jump, big wings will spread off your car, and it'll look really cool. It's neat on that side of things, and I think a lot of people will find some fun stuff to enjoy there. And if you are like on Game Pass Ultimate, you'll get 10 hours of this game as part of EA Play or whatever it's called. So I think it's worth checking out. But it really is no Forza Horizon, and I wasn't like sure. Like I like Forza Horizon a lot, but I'm like, oh, there's space for some of these other games. I think there's space for other arcade racers that are kind of going in different directions these days. Obviously, Cruise and Blast is one of my favorites. Even that Hot Wheels game I liked a little bit. There's been a handful of others recently where it's like, okay, yeah, Arcade Racer is back, but being the open world, sort of not as good as Burnout Paradise kind of game. It's I don't know, mostly underwhelming to me. I don't think it's a bad game, but underwhelming definitely.
Okay.
All right. So
have you been playing Marvel Snap still?
I've been playing a ton of Marvel Snap. I took a break to play through Pentiment, and then now Marvel Snap's sort of I'm back playing a lot of it. I'm kind of working on my my battle pass, trying to make sure I don't waste any of that. But also it's like the game I just pick up when I want to be playing a game. I'm sitting on the toilet or whatever. I got a couple of minutes here or there. I can't start anything real. I'll play Marvel Snap, and it's still fitting in really well that way. And I've really found out like why it works for me. But you didn't like it, or I don't. I'll just let you say it. What's your feelings on Marvel Snap?
My feelings on Marvel Snap is that I can recognize that it's very well made for what it's trying to do, and what it's trying to do is being a quick in and out type of game. Right. It's very simple. It's clearly designed to be played on mobile when you have a couple of minutes. And that's why I didn't click with it.
Sure.
Because as I've mentioned, throughout the week now, I'm a big Pokemon TCG guy. Not a huge TCG guy in general, but Pokemon, I've been playing it over 20 years now. And I've dabbled in other ones. I know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I've played that with friends. I've dabbled in Magic and some other ones that people may or may not know. But for people like me, because we had Christian say the same thing when I brought it up.
A Magic the Gathering freak, Christian.
Yeah, he plays Matt. Yeah. For us, it's just that Snap is a little too simple because we're used to the level of depth of these other card games. One of the things we brought up is the RNG factor, and we were trying to explain it to you. Have you played TCGs at all?
Yeah, I've played Magic the Gathering in the past and stuff. Yeah, okay. Definitely, yes.
Okay.
So where does RNG play a factor in those? I mean, I have some idea. It feels like it's mostly just in drawing the cards, right? That's about it.
Right. And that's the difference here is because Marvel Snap, first of all, you do have the RNG in your cards, but it's also the zones are randomized. Yes. The zones have a big impact on the game. And so technically you can be screwed over by something that's completely out of your control. Whereas in these other pre-constructed TCGs, such as Pokemon or Magic, you don't have that type of random element. All the random element is like you said, drawing the cards. And because the deck size plays a role in that too, because Snap is 12
cards. Yep. 12 cards, 6 turns. Yeah.
So it's more of what we would maybe call a deck building game, where it's just, you're going to get most of your cards, if not all of them. And then you kind of strategize how you place them on the board and when you place them. Whereas with these RTCGs, you have 60 cards and up to 4 copies of each. So it's more about resource management, because you can do things like you can search through your deck for a specific kind of card. You can dump your hand and draw X number of cards. You have all these more complicated interactions. For example, in Pokemon, a meta card right now is you and your opponent shuffle your hands, put them on the bottom of your deck, and draw a new hand of 5 cards. That's a very kind of specific interaction. That's not the kind of thing you would see in a simpler game like Marvel Snap. Again, because it's not trying to do that.
Yeah, but can you describe it again? Because it does sound like something that happens in Marvel Snap, but I think you're meaning there's something more is happening there, because there's a space that will pop up where it's like, okay, no, you have to on turn 3. Put all your cards back in your hand and then draw out 3 new cards. Is kind of how it would work. Is it working different in one of these other games? I still think you're right. Overall, you're right that these other games way more complicated because they are okay with being longer, and this game had to limit itself because it is right. Its number one primary concern. The number one rule was it has to be 3 to 5 minutes to play. That's it. Everything else doesn't matter. Exactly. That's it. I think in that context, it made every right choice it possibly could. And for me, it's where the complexity comes in is as I move up the ladder, move up the tier, people are beginning to play bluffs and beginning to actually consider gambling their cubes as being important. I think we were seeing like when Christian stopped playing, he was still mostly doing the pretty much always snapping, and being willing to get to a point where it's like, okay, we are playing the odds. It is a lot like poker, where really the thing with poker is you want to get your chips in the middle of the table when you know you have the best hand. That is what makes poker a special game. Is like you can feel things out, you can do the math, you can understand the probability of getting the right cards. It's like, okay, the probability of me having the best hand right now is pretty high. I should get my chips in the middle, and I should play it in such a way that if I know I have if I have the nut, then I want to make sure that I can drag the other player into putting all their chips into the middle of the table at the same time, so I can maximize my return on investment. And that is happening in Snap as I move up the ladder, where it's like, okay, now I know I got this guy. All the RNG did work out in my favor here. How can I play this, and how can I slow play them to draw them in to make it sure that I can get my 8 cubes instead of just 2 or 4? And that's where a lot of the magic is happening for me. Where like, okay, this is very similar to poker, and I think that's still kind of exactly what you're saying, though, right?
So here's the thing. When I actually gave this a lot of thought, I realized the true reason why it feels dependent on the RNG and more like a traditional 52 playing card game, where the luck is the driving factor. Like there's no getting around it. The RNG is what drives the game because there's so much less of you resource managing this gigantic pool of resources that you have in a nice thick deck. Jeff, how do you win a game of Marvel Snap? What's the win condition?
Yeah, I mean the win. You want to win at least 2 of the 3 spaces by having a higher number by building up through your cards on each side. Yeah.
What are the other win conditions?
There are no other win conditions. Essentially, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the difference between Marvel Snap and any other card game. It's like for Pokemon, let me tell you how it works. You draw your initial hand, and then you set off some cards to the side. Those are called your prize cards. Mm-hmm. The way a game of Pokemon works is it's kind of like a Pokemon battle, where you have 1 active Pokemon and then 5 on the bench. And what happens is, over the course of the game, the ways you can win is that if you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon, you draw a prize card from that little pool. There's 6 of them. And if you draw all 6 of those cards, so you knock out 6 of your opponent's Pokemon, you win the game. Also, it's Pokemon, so if your opponent has all their Pokemon on their side of the field knocked out, they can't battle, no Pokemon, they lose, you win the game. Also, if your opponent needs to go to draw a card and they can't, we call it that, decking out, that's in other card games as well, then they lose, you win the game. And there's also other mechanics that have been introduced over the years, like specific ones, like with the Pokemon Unknown, you might remember from Gold and Silver, the alphabet Pokemon.
Right.
That's a big one where they'll have it like a really absurd ability where it's like, the ability Hand that you can use, where if you have like 50 cards in your hand or something insane like that, you can activate this ability and you win the game. You may have heard of like Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's stuff like that. It's those alternate win conditions. And it's not just about the different ways you can win the game. Those alternate win conditions affect how you play the game and how you build your deck. Because, a game like Marvel Snap will still have archetypes, like different ways to play the game, different ways to achieve your goal, but it's different play styles. You have like the move decks and stuff that shuffles things around. But at the end of the day, you're still trying to take those 2 spots in the middle. Whereas in a game like Pokemon, there's 3 primary ways to win the game, and so many different archetypes that you can build as a method to get to that win condition. You can have, aggressive decks that just try to get knockouts. You can have control decks. Like when Donnie was on the show, actually, he mentioned he was messing around with the game, and he said, you might remember, he said he had a deck where it was all about manipulating your opponent's side of the field and denying them resources. That's what we call a control deck. There's endless archetypes that can come out of people combining all these little different nuances in the cards to get to those alternate win conditions. And to me, that at the end of the day, that's the problem that I have with Marvel Snap's depth, is that, and this could change in the future, but at the very least right now, when you have that 1 win condition and it's designed to be a bite-sized experience, it it's just not the kind of thing that I'm looking for. To be very clear, like it's a good game for what it is, like, and it's immaculately made, like the the special effects and everything. I would be jealous that we don't have that in Pokemon or let alone other clients. But it's just for a person like me, the reason it's not clicking is that it's just too simple. There's not that depth that I'm looking for, both in terms of the moment to moment gameplay and those alternate win conditions, allowing me to bring a different style of deck completely against my opponent.
Yeah, I can see it. And I think we said it has the 2 win conditions. It is you can get the win those 2 spots, or you can get your opponent to forfeit. You can get them to buy the bluff, even if you don't have the ways to win. If you snap and they are buying it, they might quit even if it's close. And it's that's where it is really just poker. And for me, poker is has endless depth because you're playing against another human being. But that's like any game where you're playing head to head has that same. Yes, it's a different.
I guess that's the important thing. Yeah, it's a different type of depth.
Yes.
Whereas what I'm talking about is depth in terms of gameplay. You're
mechanics.
talking about more depths. Yeah, mechanics, exactly. Yeah. You're talking more depth in terms of you versus your opponent, like the mind games and everything like that, which is that's something that I'm not interested in. So that's why this kind of game isn't for me.
Yeah,
but
makes
also,
sense.
it's not made for me. And that's the big thing that I want to get across to everyone is that it's okay. Like that's the lesson at the end of the day. It's okay for a game to not be for you. Like this is something I pushed hard on Nintendogs when we were talking about Scarlet and Violet. Target audiences are important, and this is targeting a mobile market who wants a quick and easy game that they can play. While they're at, the stereotype of I'm in line, I'm at the doctor's office, yada yada yada. But that's actually what this is great for, and I'm happy.
And most games actually aren't very good at that, even ones that try to be. Yes, or if they are, they're very exploitative, and this is not. Or hasn't been so far. I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, anything can be that eventually, but because it's all business at the end of the day. But it's still, it hasn't been so far, so it feels really nice to engage with it. Yeah, I'm still really happy with it. I'm also a big fan of poker, so like this is scratching that itch. Yes, exactly. All right, I think it's time to wrap this up. You been playing anything else? Anything else we should touch on, or get on out of here?
That's it. That's the big stuff. Yeah, let's roll on out.
All right, where can people find you on the internet, Mr. Turbo Sean?
They can find me on the internet on Twitter, again, as long as it lasts.
Oh, shit. You know what? No, end it. Superchats. See, Mike normally does the Superchats, so I forgot. All right, from Don Otaku. I hear there's a little record scratch there. Don Otaku, the only difference between Tetris and Breath of the Wild is that Breath of the Wild hasn't been given enough to show how influential and iconic it is yet. And then he does the sort of shrugging emoji. I mean... Breath of the Wild's I don't know. That's not going to win over me because I just see Breath of the Wild everywhere because I know developers played that game and won't ever stop talking about it. Whenever I talk to a developer about it, like, yes, of course we were all influenced by it. It's the most influential game of the last decade. Obviously, even Elden Ring, obviously influenced by it. Halo, they admitted they were influenced by it, even though everyone got mad about that video I made about it. But still, Tetris is just, I don't know. I think Tetris maybe had to be there a little bit more. From Minnesota Goldie, thank you for catching the super chats. Breath of the Wild was made worse by being on Switch, took away from the Wii U pad controls. I don't know, would the Wii U have been, the Wii U had the buttons above the stick, or below the stick, so that would have been worse, right? That's just worse.
Sure, Jeff. You and your ass backwards opinions.
That is the correct opinion about controllers. There's no reason Nintendo went back. Burrito, please say Ohio State got fucking bopped again. Thanks, Grubb. Yeah, okay, sure, no problem. Ohio State got fucking bopped. God, that was such a good game. All right, let's try that one more time. Turbo Sean, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on the internet, on Twitter, again, as long as it lasts, because it's holding together with duct tape and chewing gum, at TurboSean_. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, twitch.tv/TurboSean. If you want to hang out, cozy stream, you can catch me over there at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow playing some Pokemon TCG in a tournament. It's going to be a fun time. If you want to drop a follow, so that way you can get notified when I go live, I would appreciate that as well. And then Jeff, gonna be going from that. It's
gonna be good. I Okay, I think I muted you instead of the music. But, oh, well, yes. Jeopardy tomorrow is what he said. Real quick. Alex, PSX, Chris Chan, jail Sonic creator, jail Mike jail for touching Sonic. Sonic is a curse, I say. That's a super chat. Bye, everybody. I don't know what any of that means. I'm pretty sure that was a spell that was just cast on me. Good night.
Enjoy your gaming.
Good show.